Buddhism today is no longer a purely Asian matter. More than 500 million people worldwide consider Buddhism a primary factor in developing a happy, meaningful life. Buddhism arrived in Tibet in the 8th century, where the teachings were conveyed through 4 major traditions. One, the Kagyu lineage, is headed by the Karmapa. Similar to the Dalai Lama, Karmapa is regarded as one of Tibet's most outstanding spiritual leaders. Both are said to take perpetual rebirth in order to help all living beings. The first Karmapa lived in the 12th century. Prior to his death, he described the circumstances of his rebirth. This tradition continues to exist. 300 years later, the Dalai Lamas started a similar custom. During the periods between the rebirths of the Karmapas, their main disciples were responsible for passing on the Kagyu tradition, and they continue to confirm the next Karmapa. This film is an account of the Karmapa's return. Due to the Chinese invasion, the 16th Karmapa was forced to leave Tibet in 1959. Karmapa continued his teaching activities in India. He later visited Europe, the United States, and East Asia on invitations by his students. This contributed to fulfilling an old Tibetan prophecy, which states that when the iron bird flies, the Buddha's teachings will come to the West. Before the 16th Karmapa passed away in 1981, he started several projects which were most important to him. One of these was the construction of the Karmapa International Buddhist Institute in New Delhi. Today, international students follow a continuing educational Buddhist curriculum at this institute. Currently, the institute is also an asylum for many of Karmapa's monks from Rumtek Monastery. Shalma Rinpoche, the interim leader of the Kagyu lineage, will receive the reincarnation of the 16th Karmapa here in New Delhi within the next few days.
This is just initial ceremony. Family given to the monastery, and then they inviting from family to the monastery, and it is first time in his life to come to his monastery, so we are inviting him here, and all the followers from all sides of the world came here to participate. It's a receiving, welcome ceremony.
Preparation for this unique event has been going ahead at full speed. The monastery steadily fills with people from all over the world. It looks almost as if a swarm of bees has arrived simultaneously with the Karmapa in the monastery. One and a half months ago, this 11-year-old boy secretly left Tibet in order to carry out his function as Karmapa in a free world. In the morning, the Karmapa is busy with his studies and first audiences. Occasionally, the Karmapa also writes short poems. He plays in the afternoon like most children of his age. Yeshe, who cared for the Karmapa since his arrival in India, relates.
He had a lot of prayers in the morning and prayers in the evening. Then things like we have this Uma Jukpa, Madhyamika. He's very fluent with that because when we came here we started with that, you know. And then to the extent that he can tell us where there is a missing word or where there is an extra word or where there's a spelling mistake, you know, he can tell you that. So he just reads like running water, you should say, you know. It's so smooth.
During an interview, Shama Rinpoche mentioned that in 1986, he heard of a boy who at the age of 3 told his family, "I am the Karmapa." A teacher of the Gelugpa lineage tested the child by asking him, among other questions, about his monastery. The Karmapa answered, "My monastery was in Tsuapu. It had a golden roof with 2 birds on top of it. This was in fact true until the monastery was destroyed during the Chinese Cultural Revolution. At the age of 3½, the boy surprised his family by reading 1 chapter of a philosophical text a few times and then reciting it from memory just for fun. Due to these events, the Gelugpa Lama was completely convinced of the authenticity of this reincarnation. He notified Shama Rinpoche, who secretly sent several people to Tibet in order to investigate the circumstances. In 1988, the Lama who was instructed by the 16th Karmapa concerning his reincarnation contacted Shama Rinpoche. The Lama did not at that time disclose full details of his instructions. Therefore, Shama Rinpoche had to wait until now in order to receive the Karmapa at his monastery.
At one time, a few people were there, and then one of the ladies had a photograph of, I think it was a cousin of hers, who's suffering from cancer and it's pretty bad right now. So she asked if he could bless her, you know. And I explained to him that cancer was a very bad disease, you know. A lot of people are suffering from this, and then it's very difficult to cure, you know. So then he said, this world has so many diseases. So why don't I gather them all together, make a bundle out of it, and take it outside the world and throw it out, you know. Then there's no more disease in this world.
I know the one Lama who is around 60 years old, is very senior Lama and disciple to the late Gyawa Karmapa, has the instruction, you know? But he instructed him to keep it very secretly. According the instruction or according the special qualities which shown up from the Karmapa himself, One, a senior disciple or most of the highly qualified the teacher, or like me, Shamarpa, has to confirm according the science or the information. So this Karmapa, I confirmed he is the genuine reincarnation of the late Kamapa who passed away in 1981.
To the sound of Tibetan ritual instruments, the Karmapa is led to the temple. Karmapa, whose name means master of enlightened activity, prostrates in front of the large golden Buddha statue and lights incense. He takes his place on the throne prepared for him, and the function of his predecessors tracing back to the 12th century is then continued by the 17th Karmapa. Next, the Karmapa accepts the black hat, which is a characteristic of the Karmapas and symbolizes their enlightenment. The red hat of the Shama Rinpoches has a similar meaning. Since the 14th century, the Shama Rinpoches have often continued the Kagyu tradition during the periods between the death and the discovery of the next Karmapa. Next, we hear recitations from practitioners who recall the examples of early Kagyu masters. Other texts serve the purpose of developing positive potential and deeper insight. Shama Rinpoche prostrates to the Karmapa, who was his teacher and student during so many lives. Shyama Rinpoche presents a mandala offering to the Karmapa. Rice and flower petals are piled